Sir Ernest Shackleton led an expedition in the Arctic to the North Pole, and in his writings he talks about one of his most difficult and experiences on that journey, where he had significant doubts about one of his team. You see, what had happened is they were running out of food and they only had a ration left of one biscuit for each man. And one night he observed one of his men, and he observed this. He observed him going over to another man and taking the biscuit out of his bag. And Ernest Shackleton said he was terribly shocked. He would have entrusted his life in the hands of this man. But then he noticed something else. He saw that this man actually took the biscuit out of his own bag and then replaced both biscuits in the bag of the other man. You see, this man knew that he was dying, and he wanted the other man to have his biscuit. That's the power of love. It's the power of giving. And in this whole question on the topic of suffering and pain, we want to look now at the power of love to undo that pain and suffering. I must confess I rather like the fables of Aesop. And you might remember this fable. It's about 4 bulls, and the 4 bulls were great friends, and they did everything together. They fed together, they went together, and a lion wanted to capture one of these bulls to eat it. And of course, while the 4 bulls were together, he could do absolutely nothing. But then he devised a plan. He would creep up to one of the bulls and say to it that its friends, the other 3 bulls, were saying nasty things about it. And then he would do the same to the other 3 bulls. And finally, none of the bulls trusted each other, and they went their separate ways, which of course was just what the lion wanted, and he killed a bull and ate it. You see, so often, sadly, in our world, and particularly even in our church life, the saddest thing is that we don't trust each other. We've fallen out. We've argued with each other. We've divided from one another. And with that division has come a loss of power, a loss of love, a loss of life. And sometimes I think we're often further from the power of the New Testament because we've actually failed in our love for one another, and we've failed to forgive, and we've actually gone astray. However, there are obviously many people who redeem the situation by their extreme love. And we might think of Mother Teresa, for example. Another example is William Booth, who went onto the streets of East London to reclaim the lives of broken alcoholics. And it's said through his ministry that even perhaps up to 70% of alcoholics remained off alcohol and did well, much better than we have in the NHS today. And he used to go, and eggs were thrown at him, tomatoes were thrown at him. He used to preach on the street corners, and he used to bring these people into the life of a community where they knew they were loved and they knew that they were accepted. He sometimes took them to farms in the country or out of their environment so that they could recover. And somebody asked him what the secret of his power was. What was the secret of his success? And he basically said, well, this is the secret. God had of me all there was of William Booth. That's basically what he said. He said, this is what has happened. I've given him all I've had. God had of me all there was to have. And you see, the power of love shown through his life was the power of a man given over completely into God's hands. And the power of his love and the power of his ministry, particularly amongst those suffering from alcohol problems, has probably never been equalled. You see, that's the power of love. The power of love is the power to undo. St. John of the Cross, a famous middle-aged saint, said basically, in the evenings of our lives, in the evening of our lives, we will be examined in love. That's the key, you see. And the Apostle John, another John, in the end of his ministry, apparently the story goes how he had to be carried into the meetings of his fellow Christians. And all he would say was, brothers, love one another. Because we've forgotten that essential message, the message of love and forgiveness. We've often gone far astray, and often the power of our witness has been sadly compromised. Well, God bless you. Thank you for listening.